about 5,000 men, plus their uncounted women and children, sitting down on the grass having a potluck picnic, my heart starts racing and I can feel the panic rising. No masks, no physical distancing, what are we thinking? Those were the days. Over my years of preaching, I've often thought about this story. You may think that it just happens once, but no. We hear about the feeding of the 5,000 in each of the 4 Gospels, and then another 2 times with just 4,000 in the Gospels of Matthew and Mark. 6 times. Perhaps it happened once. Perhaps it happened twice. Perhaps it happened many times. The act of feeding a large, hungry and exhausted crowd by God through Jesus was either very common or utterly extraordinary. In my thinking about the event or events, I have moved over the years between interpretations. At first I was totally into the miracle of the multiplication of the loaves and fishes without human intervention. Then I decided that Jesus had moved the hearts of everyone with a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or an apple squirreled away to share. And now I seem in a different place. That inspiration to share is lovely and can certainly be considered a miracle in these self-absorbed days. But I find myself needing, maybe even yearning, for more of a miracle. The sort of miracle that is incomprehensible. And I find myself pausing over that word, needing. Jesus is needing to rest and pray, which is why he withdraws onto the lake. The crowds are needing him, so they track him down and wait for him to return to shore. They need healing. And being moved by compassion, Jesus heals them. Then the crowd needs food, and the disciples need to fix that situation. The situation is again resolved. So much need, and all is taken care of, lovingly, abundantly. I don't need to understand the mechanism. I need to be reassured by the God of love in whom I put my trust, that God will be with me, will be with us in our need. And as we know, there is so much need today, so much fear and anxiety about the health, economic issues and shortfalls around the pandemic. Those of us who have tried to support those with less or nothing. So much need for institutions and agencies to be supportive of all those in need, all those in danger. Each one of us in this Holy Innocents community needs to be nourished, comforted, and healed, both for ourselves, the congregation as a whole, and for the larger community around us. And that is why we take opportunities to gather together virtually in small and large groups. That is why we are here today. We may not actually be able to receive the bread and wine into our mouths, but we can be sustained by receiving the Holy Sacraments by faith and with thanksgiving. You will be comforted to know that this is an absolutely valid way to receive the Eucharist. On page 457 of our handy-dandy red Book of Common Prayer, in the pastoral office of the ministration to the sick, there is a rubric, a note of instruction, that reads, if a person desires to receive the sacrament, but by reason of extreme sickness or physical disability is unable to eat and drink the bread and wine, the celebrant is to assure that person that all the benefits of the communion are received even though the sacrament is not received with the mouth. You who are watching remotely are unable to eat the bread and wine because you cannot be present. This is an extreme situation. We who are gathered here together could not possibly eat and drink in front of you. That would be the height of rudeness and exclusion. I am grateful for this pandemic in one way at least. I have become extremely clear about my theology of the Eucharist, and this is a good time for me to share it. For me, the heart of the Eucharist is the one body of Christ. After we are reminded of God's saving and healing presence in the world from the beginning of time, the priest, in the physical presence of both the bread and wine, and at least some of the community, touches and consecrates the elements, that they may become gifts to Christ's people. By receiving them, each person is brought into ever closer and more intimate relationship both with each other and with Christ. By sharing this Eucharist together, even if under extreme circumstances, not only is each one of us being nourished, but our whole community is being fed. I know that we yearn for a time when we can gather together, and that will happen when the numbers in the city are significantly lower than they are currently. Since our priority is the safety and health of our congregation, we can be more cautious than those struggling for economic survival. However, I do think it's time for us to share the feast more substantially. And so we have an idea that just yesterday Bishop Mark has both approved and blessed. In a couple of weeks' time, I will be sending out a letter to you all, asking if you are going to be home on the afternoon of Sunday, August 30th. At the morning's 10 o'clock Eucharist, attended by the usual small team, we will consecrate, individually packaged, according to safe food handling regulations, communion bread, made by our master baker, Kristen Charles. These packages will then be delivered by a team of masked, physically distancing volunteers to everyone who wants one. Later that day, at a time still to be decided, we will gather on a Zoom call for a shared Eucharist in our own houses. For those of you who live too far away, we will mail pre-consecrated wafers to you. So please be watching for the letter and fill out the form to let us know. Our hope is that this will be a spiritually nourishing meal both for you individually and for the Holy Innocents congregation as a whole. We who are many are one body because we all share in the one bread. And, using the final words of today's collect, we will indeed have been given the bread that satisfies, the food without price, that our lives may be freed to share your overflowing love. Through Jesus Christ, the breaker of bread. Amen.